NFTs are dead. Now, this is something that I'm sure all of you guys have heard, right? Like you can raise your hand if you're on camera, or you can type a one in the chat box, or a yes if you've heard this idea that NFTs are dead. And that is a expansion on what is really happening, which is we are in a bear market or a bear cycle in the crypto world. And just like a bear cycle in the regular NFT space or the regular fiat world with the stock market and the NYSE and the S&P 500, if we were in a bear market in dollars, I wouldn't tell you to stop selling your art. I wouldn't say cash is dead, no one's buying art, go home, go find some other job to do in a bear market somehow, right? I wouldn't say that. And I don't say that for NFTs. We are in a bear market cycle. And honestly, when you see this chart slide that I have coming up, this is the best time to be starting in NFTs, right? So when I do this webinar again and we're in a full-on bull swing, I'm going to be like, well, you guys are hearing a great deal. You have a lot of work to catch up on, because the people who were here first, the people who were here during the bear market, are the ones who are already established. And that's what I want. And I want for you, all you guys, is to start establishing yourself in the NFT art ecosphere. So NFTs are dead. Wells Fargo, and I'm sure everyone here has heard of Wells Fargo, had published this on August 6th. And they said that digital assets, which an NFT is a digital asset, are assets, are inventions on par or innovations on par with the internet, with this thing that we're all communicating on, with cars and with electricity. And this is, I want you to imagine your world, but in a digital space, right? And some of you are, what are your guys' ages? So I'm 36. If you guys are older than younger, you can type an O or a Y than that. Like I saw a Joe smile because I'm like a child in his eyes, right? So I'm 36, but so imagine, like I live in this loft, I have all this stuff, right? But then this digital world comes to life and I get to participate in this digital world. But when I get there, I have nothing. Like I end up in a digital empty space that someone else built for us. And it's an empty room. Like I own condos in some digital world, right? I have 5 of them in Virtua. And I'm going to get there and there's going to be nothing in there. What are we going to put in those condos? How am I going to create decorations? How am I going to create tools that I'm going to use in this sort of metaverse world? Those are NFTs. NFTs are the assets that you can carry around in the digital world. And what's really odd and wonderful for us is that the initial push in digital assets is art. Okay. And that's because digital assets are still or bridging from theoretical into the real world. And what better to be able to trade as far as a digital asset than a theoretical product, which is what we do. We create something out of nothing, and it becomes a beautiful piece of what people feel in their lives. So NFTs recognized very strongly and in very powerful words by Wells Fargo here as innovations on par with electricity. So continuing with this idea, are NFTs dead? This is a report that came out in last year on the previous 18 months. So it comes out for the year 2020 and the first half of 2021. And it has some really important, significant facts about it. This is a 33-page report that you can look up. It's called Art Tactic, and you can download it for free, I believe. Like 51% of art buyers said they thought the changes that are here now, the NFT market, the online art selling, all of that stuff, are never going away, right? They're going to be permanent. Confidence is rising on people buying online. The new generation of art buyers, 3 out of 10 have bought their first work online, which is completely different than all of you who said you were older than me. A bunch of you, that wasn't true for you. Like the people who bought your artwork first bought it in person. Those were their first purchases. But all of our new buyers, the next generation of our customers, are all buying online. And having an online presence and having an online tool for us to sell to them is going to be really important. Hold up. So you guys are going to hear me say some things in this webinar that are not artistic at all, right? For me, like part of how I got from US Air Force bomb builder to full-time artist making 6 figures or more a year is I stopped selling art and I started selling a product. So you'll hear me say stuff like, who's going to be your next generation customer, and what are they looking for in terms of products and tools or items they can buy and trade. That's because once I'm done making the artwork, it stops being a piece of artwork in my head and it starts becoming a product. And with that mentality, I can decide who that product is for and how to market to them. And here we have a whole generation the next generation and the ones following it, if you guys plan on being artists for the next 20 years, that's 2 generations that are going to buy their work online. And if you're not showing up for them, then you're weeding yourself out of the economic fort that is the art world. Okay, what I like about this slide is that the difference between the female and male buyers, which is kind of the difference between the initial NFT market buyer and the upcoming buyer. Okay, most of the buyers are buying because of investment reasons, and we're going to go over this in the future at the end of this webinar. But there are a big subset of buyers, the female population, who most of them are buying because of the emotional significance of the work. And I think that they adopting NFTs and adopting crypto are the first wave of the general buyer coming in, of the more consumer level person who's going to be buying our work. And I think it's important to recognize that the early success of people was built on this idea of being first, being early, and being an investment product, whereas the market sentiment is going to evolve into something that is a lot more like the real world market, where people are seeing, feeling, evolving with our art, growing with it, and then they're adopting it into their lives. So I took this screenshot on the 19th, it was for the other webinar, but JPEG Store on the 19th did $250,000 in revenue. Okay, the ADA was 51 cents at that time. So 570,000 ADA is $250,000. I also took this from recent news. BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, Samsung, all of these major players in our Web2 lives, in our real world lives, are adopting crypto. So the idea that crypto and NFTs are dead this is evidence that it's not. The biggest players in our lives, the biggest players who shape our culture or who enable us to make culture ourselves, are adopting NFTs and adopting the crypto world. So this stuff is not going away. I know I'm beating this into the ground, but what I want you to do is either screenshot this or write this down, because as soon as you start doing NFTs, someone is going to write it to you, walk up to you and be like, oh, you're killing the environment and crypto is dead and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Ignore them. But if you can't, this is the data to remind yourself that this is not true. This shot right here, what am I trying to say? 400, 500, like over $1 million of ETH spent in 1 week on Super Rare. And then another notification about PayPal joining the Trust Network, which is a really big deal if you are sort of present and aware and understanding how big of a deal Coinbase is to the real world that we are participating in. So things like Coinbase, things like PayPal, they're bridging us from the crypto world into the NFT world. And right now we are creating the major product that sells in the NFT space.